Good morning, Inspiring Illuminators. It is me, Jennifer Engel, your subconscious coach. And on today's Jaunt with Jen, which I wasn't going to do, but sometimes inspiration just hits, is this idea of becoming a full potential human. Now, this didn't just come out of the blue. If I'm not doing a Jaunt with Jen in the morning, what I'm also doing is listening to other people that I admire or that I have similar views with. I was listening to Gregg Braden this morning, and what I like about him is he'll bring the science to the spirituality. Now, I actually started a different Jaunt with Jen where I was kind of agreeing with Gregg and also kind of talking about my understanding of indigenous teaching. That what they said was that 2012 wasn't the end of time, it was the end of a cycle. And he also went on to say, and this is true, and it makes sense, that the earth, and maybe some of it could still be true, but I'll give my viewpoint in a minute, that the earth, the planets, they cycle around the sun like hands on a clock. And if you think about that concept and think about the earth being like one of the horses on a merry-go-round, as you go around the clock, as you go around the merry-go-round, you're going to have different perspectives. And that's going to shift and change the magnetic field of the earth and planets. And since we are on them, it will shift and change our magnetic field as well. Now it's interesting, and I'll put his link below so that if you're interested, you can watch the interview yourself and come up with your own evaluations, judgments, decisions, whatever you want to call it. Because not only is my teaching raw and real, but the purpose of my teaching is to teach you how to think for yourself, how to use your own experiences to expand your own growth. I think in the past, I do think one thing that might be shifting and changing is that people had to rely on others to tell them about what they should do to become morally better. But now I do think there's a shift where people are going to start taking on that responsibility more themselves. And that is also part of my teaching. How do you take the responsibility of your physical, mental, emotional, and subconscious spiritual vibrational growth into your own hands? Now, with that said, I also say that we live in the juxtaposition. So you have to be in balance. You have to spend some time alone in quiet and self-reflection and learning. But then you should also get together with another or others to talk about it. So you need both. Now, one of the things that Gregg Braden said is that we are in this new vibration. Like a lot of new agey people are talking about that. And in some aspects, I think I can see it. But at the same time, okay, while I do understand, we're kind of like on a clock, I also, and this is a different teaching for a different day, I don't see time as linear. I can kind of see, actually, okay, here's the complicated part. Time is linear, and it's circular, and it's quantum. All at the same time. But that's a little bit confusing, and maybe a different teaching for a different day. So on one hand, I can kind of see how we're on this merry-go-round, and I and a lot of people did see and experience in 2012 or so a wake-up, a shift. At the same time, I wonder, and I'm curious what you guys think, have we not always had that potential? Isn't that maybe what the greatest teachers of our time, Jesus, Buddha, Lao, Muhammad, fill in your blank for the teacher you like to listen and learn from. Have we not always had that possibility? Now I can also hear my consciousness echo back, yes, but if you reflect back in time, it seemed to be a smaller amount of people had either access to that teaching, and I don't know, and or maybe interest. Maybe back then, people were so into the physical reality that they didn't really care or know or anything about all the other realities. But anyway, in the Gregg Braden interview, and I've known this for a while, he said, not only do our brains have neurons, but our hearts have neurons. And he didn't say this in the interview, but I've heard it before. Our stomachs have neurons. So not only does our brain hold and retain memory, but so does our heart and our stomach. So the point is that to become this new human, if you will, is to simply get the heart, brain, and stomach aligned and harmonized. And when you do that, you unlock almost superhuman potential, such as telepathy, spooky action at a distance where you can almost hear or feel what another person's thinking and feeling. You can just literally send out a signal, help me, call me. You don't actually have to text or phone. And boom, that person will just text or phone. I've experienced that. You'll experience more synchronicity. You'll experience maybe more reality creation. You might be able to experience self-healing when you can align the mind, heart, and stomach. Or the way some people say it is all your chakras. Climb up Jacob's ladder, cross the rainbow bridge. And that's what all my teachings are about. How do you go from, a life that might be filled with anxiety, sickness, pain, fear, all things that I've experienced, and make the shift to peace, calm, and health. So that's what my poetry is about. It's what it's been about. Probably even the first book I wrote, it was okay, but anybody's first writing isn't their best writing. Heaven Under Construction. That's what Highest Possibility States is about. And that's what this book of poems is about over there. It's my passion and my calling. And what I've also heard is that anyone who's experienced this, it almost becomes their passion, their calling to teach other people how to do this. To go from being dependent on others for your physical, mental, emotional, and subconscious, that's not even a word, just made that up. Subconscious health. Okay? But again, I always say we live in the juxtaposition. So you need to take that time and that responsibility yourself, and you need to share that responsibility with others. Everything is the breath of life. We expand, we collapse, we have alone time, we have together time. And in my teaching, I think you can find the most peace and balance. I hope that this has helped someone today. I hope we can continue to grow and evolve as individuals and as a society that moves more into courage, more into acceptance, more into lifting people up rather than tearing them down. And the science is showing, or the data, even though the news is not reflecting it, the data, the hard data, is reflecting that as a society we are headed that way. So if you ever feel down, if you ever feel that there's so much chaos and fear and whatever in the world, turn the news off. Because it does not reflect the data that we are getting better as a society. Yes, we may be experiencing more polarity, but this polarity is pushing us forward. It's the uncomfortability that pushes us forward to eventually become a greater society. And I believe we are headed for that. And we have a choice. We can either go with the flow and learn how to take care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and subconsciously, spiritually, vibrationally, and each other and the planet, or we can say no. And that's going to be a hard fight. It's going to be a hard struggle. And what we are taught in spiritual teachings is the light eventually will always win. There are times when the darkness definitely seems to be winning, but one of my absolute favorite quotes is, "There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning." If I ever experience pain, it's generally in the afternoon and evening. Because, here's another little tidbit, there are different flows at different times of the day. So in the morning, if you want answers, that's a morning flow. You get up between 3 and 5 a.m. You get quiet and you ask the universe. You don't necessarily need to be still. You can be walking, but be quiet. That's when the answers come. If you want to be more productive, then you're active and awake during the day. And if you want to be reflective and change past stories, then you meditate and reflect at night. There's different patterns during different times of the day. Okay? So this talk is challenging us to think about, do we want to make the choice to become or to obtain the highest possibility state, the fullest potential that we can become? And if we do, We do it by breaking through negative thought patterns in our mind, by script flipping them, which is the poem that I wrote this morning, through mindfulness, through meditation, through visualization, by asking ourselves our questions as much as possible. How does this experience relate to me? Does it make me happier? Does it give me more energy? And does it make me more functional over time? And if that answer was no, then you say to yourself, okay, does that experience need a timeout, a tune-up, an overhaul, or a trade-in? Change is always uncomfortable. And the grass isn't necessarily always greener on the other side. But I think time and time again, people who have broken through fear and guilt and all the negative emotions, people who have harmonized and aligned and balanced themselves will tell you it is. It's greener on that side. And that's why we're so passionate about teaching people how to do it for themselves and encouraging each other how to do it as well, using our own special gifts and talents. Again, I hope this talk has helped someone today so you can use your own specific gifts and talents to first help yourself and then help those around you. Because now more than ever, the world needs that, and it needs you. Peace and blessings.